Hello, everyone. My name's Alicia Chavez, and I am coming to you from Taos, New Mexico, which is my ancestral home. Um, we're going to introduce ourselves and then share a little bit about how we have been working on teaching across cultural strengths in online kinds of teaching. We are the authors and researchers for Teaching Across Cultural Strengths, published with Stylus, and we wanted to welcome you. We know this is a tough time for everyone with COVID and a lot of you having to move into online forms of learning and teaching suddenly, and some of you, I'm sure, never having done that, some of you having web enhanced courses, and some of you being very experienced. Susan and I are both on the more experienced level of teaching online. We both regularly teach online in our fields. Susan?
And I'm Susan Longerbeam, and I'm speaking with you from Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm an associate professor in educational counseling at the University of Louisville.
Happy summer, everyone, and getting ready for fall. We are going to share with you two of the areas that we really feel are incredibly critical to online teaching and learning. I found over the years, both through my teaching and talking with students a great deal and with faculty and doing quite a bit of research about online teaching and learning, especially across cultures, that you kind of have to tweak your brain. You have to think differently about teaching and learning. All of a sudden, you're not the center of attention. For some of us, that's a good thing, and for some folks, that's really painful and difficult. But for us, it's all about interconnections between students, especially in relation to the learning at hand, and about deep learning and thinking beyond the classroom into the world as the learning environment. So we're each going to share a story and a little bit about what we mean about each area. And Susan is going to talk to you a little bit about connections.
Well, one of the things I wanted to impart right away is that I have experienced a lot of communication about techniques and software that's available for online learning coursework. And I just caution that the main focus really is interaction between students and interaction between students and us. And we don't need a lot of additional software or what sometimes I think of as gimmicks to support online learning. I think if we focus on students interacting with one another and us being continually interacting with students, then the interaction will enhance. I have a story to share about encouraging interaction for students who are doing group projects together, especially for Northern European American students with whom I work. Sometimes there's some concern about the way that they're evaluated. If they're concerned about their grades, I always encourage them and reassure them that the grading is not the same in group projects. It's more of an essay evaluation of their group project, and the stakes are not high, so that they can remain focused on positive interactions with peers and not be worried about level of effort among peers, because competitiveness is one of our cultural strengths, and it also can be a cultural hazard. So I do a lot of reassurance around that, because group work is so incredibly important in today's global world.
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about deep learning and how we get students to very deep learning online. I found out pretty quickly that some students really struggle with moving on to online because of internet connections, because of extrovertedness in their learning style, so that they want to discuss everything with other people, or other factors that have to do with how they learn. So what I tend to do is really focus on creating a few very deep learning experiences that connect with students' lives. So having them go outside of the online classroom, and I do this in my face-to-face classes as well, having them go out and observe things, study things, take notes on things, talk to people about things, sometimes in relation to who they are and what their strengths are as learners. So I might encourage people, if you like to talk to people, then go out and talk to a bunch of people about what this means in your chemistry class, or your leadership class, or your math class, or your writing class. And if you are someone who is very reflective, then maybe journal about it. Maybe reflect as you run. Maybe reflect by talking to a friend, you know, that you're very close to and feel comfortable with. So and then coming back and having students share what they've learned, either through projects, through writing, through assignments, through equations, through creative works, having them upload them online, and then requiring that they read 3 other people's works and then discuss what they learned from them. What I found is that leads in any kind of discipline, academic discipline, to much deeper learning. And what I found over the years that surprised me was that the more abstract the topic is, the subject. I teach a lot of research courses, which are very intimidating to students. And I find that the more abstract the topic is that we're trying to learn, the more it's helpful to have students figure things out, do projects, and then come and share those. And that leads to more people learning what we're trying to teach, because they're learning from a variety of different perspectives. And that ties into what Susan was just saying about helping them interconnect, even if they're not doing projects together, helping them learn from each other, helping them figure things out. And we find that with learning, it's really helpful to encourage students to bring things in to help other people learn from their own personal strengths, personality strengths, and cultural strengths, as well as community strengths and things like that. And that often works really well across cultures, whether you're teaching online in Zoom forms, or in written forms, or in other forms that you're playing with. So thank you for being with us today. Susan, what else would you like to add?
Just adding to your comment, Alicia, about strengths, I think it's really important to give students the opportunity to interact in projects with one another outside of the classroom, or the online classroom, and to also be very interpersonal with students when they're in video. Say their name frequently. Notice when they're either present or when they've just come into the virtual room. Say their name, welcome them, check in, continually increase the effort in interaction when you're on a video call, especially.
That's
I
really
find that
good.
really helpful.
Yeah, and I think if we shift our thinking not just evaluating to checking in on students' learning, and when you have them online, if you're going to do Zoom kinds of things or other things where they're interacting directly, is to ask them to share what they learned or what their understanding is. And I often will say things like, half-formed thoughts are great. Why don't you share what you're thinking right now, or how you interpret it, or how far you got? This is not competitive. We're just helping each other to learn. Those kinds of interpersonal skills are not always comfortable for everyone, but they are part of learning. They're very much a part of whether or not students are going to walk away from our classes having learned what we wanted them to learn, and beyond that, or if they're going to walk away just having to check the box. And that's your choice as a professor. We really encourage you to interact deeply with your students and get to know them, and really check in constantly with them to have them show you their learning, not just testing and those kinds of things. So as an evaluative, grade-oriented aspect. So thank you. We wish you well. Good luck in all of this, and we really hope for you to stay well.
Be well, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.